Yeah. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Terrortinos. This is a show where two childhood friends get together to talk shop. The topics we're going to discuss in this podcast, this YouTube show, is mostly we're going to be talking about movies, cult movies, horror movies, TV shows, general pop culture stuff. Frankly, whatever comes up to in our minds, we're going to be talking about that. Uh, we haven't really done this episode, or at least done an episode in maybe 2 or maybe even longer than that, 3 to 4 months. We've been out for a while, but we're back. We're back in full force. This time we're gonna try to do it live. We're not going to do it live just yet, but we're going to do it live soon enough. And this is going to be kind of a work in progress type of thing. Before
It's like pseudo live.
Yeah, it's pseudo live. It's basically a live recording. We wanted to do a live. We wanted to do a live YouTube video, but anyway, you could watch it. You could listen to us on podcast form, or you could now watch us on YouTube. You can see our faces now. That's the kind of the main thing, and that's the reason why we kind of took a break and we wanted to come back and bring something special. Really quick, a quick intro of who we are. My name is Mike, and that guy over there is
Angel, and it's sad because we took a couple months off because we're gonna see our faces, and this is the best we could do.
uh
We
so
we
just
apologize.
so a quick intro is that we are two movie obsessed fanatics raised on films from the 80s and 90s. So most of our references, most of our movie quotes that we tell each other is going to be coming from those decades. So if you love those movies from those decades, if you love pop culture from those time milestones from that back in the day, you'll love this show. You're going to love this episode because we're about celebrating that kind of stuff. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think 80% of us is movies we've seen. Like
I
if you
think
took
so.
away
Yeah.
movies, yeah, we'd be pretty hollow. There wouldn't be much to us.
Yeah, well, I'm not into sports. You're into you're a big football guy, but
Yeah, that's the other 20% of me. But I mean, like when you think of everything that makes you who you are, like
uh,
things you like, interests, I mean, it's all been skewed by. And it's funny because when someone says like I've seen hundreds of movies, it's thousands. You know what I mean? It's
mhm,
tens of thousands. There's movies where like I'll go through like Tubi. I think you turned me on to Tubi, and
mhm.
like first of the month, I love it because it's got all the new ones. And I'll just hit the genre. I'll hit horror, and I am not kidding. I'm about 60%, and that's including the piece of the
Mhm.
obscurest movies. Like I think there was Frankenstein versus werewolves, whatever. It didn't matter. It's like people in the back of their house with a Super 8 camera. Like I've seen a lot of them, and it's like wow. It's like it used to just be background or me searching for something, but now it's all at your fingertips. So it's not that there's not an excuse to see things. It's everything's there. Everything's like within arm's reach now. Like when you used to have to drive somewhere to get a bootleg from somebody behind a video store, that's not it anymore. You just get it. Like what we're gonna talk about. Remember, we were just talking about um, Raiders of the Lost Ark. But
Yeah.
remember how long it took for Lucas to release the trilogy on DVD. Like you could have
Mm.
it on VHS, but remember it was like when the internet first came out and you could order things online. I think we sent away to like pan scan from like China, and it took like 2 weeks to show up. But we were the only ones we knew that had it on DVD. Like it just wasn't available because he lost his ass on that Divx or whatever. But I'm just saying, that's how hard we used to have to work for movies, and now it's a joke. It's in your pocket. It's on a phone.
Well, yeah, I told this story before that, when I wanted to get a obscure horror film, I had to drive to Los Angeles and meet a guy in front of a bookstore and exchange, money. It's like a drug deal. And now you could just download that stuff, or you could just watch that stuff. Some of that stuff is already available on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah,
So that kind of, I don't know. I thought maybe part of me like still reminisce on those days.
kind of yearns for the having to work
Yeah,
for it a
because
little.
you had to earn it, right?
Yeah,
So
and you had to work so hard, you sat down and you paid attention.
yeah,
But now
yeah.
I'll put a movie on and I'll find myself on my phone. Like somebody texts and I'll pick it up, and then I'm like, shit, and I got to pause the movie or I got to rewind it because I've missed
Mhm.
something. So I get what you're saying. It's almost like I take it for granted now, and I'm getting very undisciplined with my movie watching.
Yeah, me too. I find myself on the phone all the time too when I'm watching movies or even television shows, and I'm like, oh shit. I used to be very strict about that kind of stuff, like being fully, have full attention at whatever I'm watching. Nowadays, I'm like, a lot of times I have to be on my phone just to stay up and
Yeah.
not fall asleep, just because short attention span, it's getting worse and worse every day. Let's talk about this episode though. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about this episode. This is Jaws at 50. This is an incredible time for this classic film. A lot of people are talking about it because it's turned 50 years ago. This a couple of weeks ago, I think it was June 20th. It would open in 1976 or 1975, excuse me. That this classic shark uh, thriller became this milestone in just a full on cultural phenomenon. And so the last couple of days, I've been watching a lot of segments on news, a lot of segment on the YouTube, and everyone's been talking about how this movie has turned 50. Now, let me, before we kind of like dive into the movie itself, let me just hear your thoughts on what made it so special for you, because you're saying before we recorded that this is probably your favorite movie of all time, and you're not alone. I think a lot of people are saying that nowadays.
Well, I was trying to think. There's a lot of movies, especially well loved movies that become 50, become 40
Yeah.
or 60.
Mhm.
Um, this is different. I think what it is because those films a lot great the hospital 2 years ago, and it was on TNT. You know what I mean? I forget what weekend it was, but this one never actually went away. This one is always around. It shows up on different platforms, so it never became something where it was like, oh man, I wish I should find the video or I should buy it on a platform so I can watch it. It's usually around. It's usually somewhere where you can find it. But Jaws for me, I it's funny how I love a movie that makes me never ever want to go in the ocean. I'll go in the ocean where I can touch the ground. But you know how people go on those cruises and they're like, "Oh, we should." They'll stop and they'll like go for a swim. Fuck that. I don't. If I can't see the ground, and I was talking to my kid, I'm like, it's the scariest feeling. You're out there, you're out of your element. But the fact that that movie terrorized me, and I would never want to go in, but I couldn't stop watching. I was fascinating. I was fascinated by it. I watched it constantly. I used to have nightmares about jumping into my pool when we had back in the day we had the pool. They're like as I'm going down, all of a sudden a shark starts to breach up, and it was like you'd wake up scared. And I think because we are talking about it too, it's technically would be a horror movie, but most like a lot of my horror movies are like I would say supernatural. There's monsters, there's weird
Mhm.
things, elements, but this is an actual like it's a possibility. People
Mhm.
can be attacked by sharks. It's nothing outside of the realm of like reality. But dude, I remember loving this movie when I was a kid. It was like this and American Werewolf. It was a movie I watched as a kid that scared me, but I was hooked on it, even though like I had to have all the lights on. And I mean, I love the beach. I like the beach. I like the water. It's just once you get to the point where you're out of your element and it's all business. Like when you think about a shark, it doesn't look like anything. It's not familiar to us at all. It's kind of like if you look at a bear and a bear stands on its legs, it's kind of like, okay, we stand on our legs, we have arms, it's got paws. This shit is as far as you can get from us. It's got those black eyes that roll over. So everything about it is scary.
Mhm.
Everything. The fact that when you swim, it takes you so long, but that thing, it doesn't even have to try to get you. It's on you. Like it can tap you on the shoulder and laugh at you. It can play with you. But it's the first movie that was like that for me that scared the shit out of me that I watched constantly.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Jaws was the first one to really introduce us to what sharks can be as as a terrifying symbol. When we were growing up in the late '90s, the Shark Week was a big thing. Like that
Oh yeah.
was a big promotional thing for Discovery Channel, and I think that's the only reason that came to fruition was because of the popularity of Jaws and the what the movie did. It was kind of this maybe in a negative way. It made everyone afraid of sharks, but like you were saying, there is something about monsters in the sea that gets into the core of everybody.
And then the first thing
um
they teach you in school is that Earth is like three-quarters water. So you're telling me that these killing machines occupy, 75% of the planet. So if I, as long as I stay out of the water, then I'm fine. But it's just like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I guess maybe that's what it is too. We kind of are the masters of everything. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing we can't tame. And then it's like for relativity, like that the whole a couple years ago when the submarine that imploded.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of like nature's telling us, hey,
don't
just
fuck with
walk away
us.
from
Yeah.
this. Yeah, this one just forget this door's here. Just keep walking down the hallway. And it's just and it's funny though when you think about the fear of sharks, it's like a bruise because like like I knew this girl, she was a normal girl, and her dream was to go down and be in a shark cage. And it's like the scariest thing that you think you can still overcome. You know what I mean? Like it's like a scary that you want to try to tame, but then they made the movie 47 meters down. It's like, then they even make movies about that going wrong. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's you can kind of try to overcome it, but I don't know, man. And then I was talking to my son too. It's like, okay, do you want to jump in the ocean? And you know how it always looks like pitch black and you can only see like 10 feet, but then you
Mhm.
see the Bahamas and you can see like a mile. Do you want to see it? Or do you want to just not see it and like it just comes and gets you? Like you want to see it with 5 seconds and then it's over, or you want to see it swimming from a mile up to you.
Yeah.
Either way is like you're screwed. But you're a big fan of the movie, right?
Uh, well, see, I came late to it. Like I was telling you before we recorded, like when I think of Spielberg movies, the first one comes up. It's like Raiders, E.T., all the classics from the '80s and also in the '90s. I came late to his '70s movies. Like I like Jaws and Close Encounters and Duel was one I came very late to because I was a completist and wanted to see all his films. Yeah, but it's funny because like I was seeing the rise of Jaws because I think as you grow up with Spielberg in the '80s and '90s, like people were just constantly talking about ET, constantly talking about Raiders, constantly talking about Jurassic Park, and I think in the last maybe 20 years, Jaws kind of slowly jumped up the ranks, and it's now considered probably his best film or one of his best films, for sure.
It
And I,
definitely like cemented his ability, the like the footwork or the groundwork for him to be able to do all those 80s movies. Because
yeah,
that
and
and Close Encounters like wrote his bill for the rest of his
and
career.
if you look at those '70s movies, you see a different Spielberg. It's a he's still young. He's still he's doing different things with the camera. He's still telling stories, but he's taking more risk. And Jaws was kind of a run and shoot type of style because of the famous stories about how the shark didn't work, and so he was making things up. So it feels more. rebel, rebellious in a way. So it feels like he is. You feel the youth of his age, and in a creative way, right?
Almost like
So
pirate filmmaking back in the
yeah,
day.
it's kind of like because the handheld stuff and the DIY stuff, it's there, yet it's also a big studio movie with financing. It's a big epic thrill of adventure, horror elements into it. So it's everything, but
Well,
it's
and he had to come up with a lot of that stuff too, so he was
Mhm.
very edgy, you know what I mean? He was the first one to use that big tank, and a lot of the stuff he had to, like, on the fly. So I think
Yeah.
that, like, this really got his creative juices going, and then it made him realize he didn't have to stick to the normal template. If he wanted something and up to then it hadn't been done, he can't just say, "Oh, well, I guess we can't do it." It's like, "No, we can find a way." And it's just so funny you talk about the shark because I was trying to tell my wife when we were watching Finding Nemo, that's the joke on the shark. His name's Bruce because the
Yeah.
robot shark thing
Wow.
kept screwing up and was named Bruce. And it's like, I mean, by now most people know that, but it's funny too because you'll see the pictures of them working on it, and it's not a like now. First of all, now it'd be CGI, but back then,
Yeah.
like in the early '90s, it might have been a huge big animatronic one, but back then it was like half of a shark and then just like like just pipes and tubes and 8 people. It's almost semi Jim Henson. You know what I mean? When you looked at like the the production photos and stuff, dude, it looks pretty awesome actually.
Yeah, I think if in a lot of ways it worked for his benefit that it didn't work at all because it became a much more of a mysterious thing in the movie. So when you finally get like the famous shot where the shark peeks up into to when uh, Brody is doing the chumming, it's a much bigger effect, right? It's like it's a real big impact when you finally see the shark's face.
Dude, and
Even
I
though
just watched
even
that and yeah, sorry.
No, but even though it's clearly a animal, like it's a puppet. It's clearly a model. So, but it's still very effective. Like, yeah, go ahead. What you were saying?
Oh no, no, I was gonna say I just watched it the other day, and
Mhm.
I try knowing what it is. I try to see the extra. You know what I mean? I try to see like a bubble over here or a tube over there, or even when it comes up, I want to see like, hey, I saw the one of the operators in the background, anything, and I still don't see it. And I don't know if it's not there or I still get that same nostalgic feeling of when I first saw it. Like when he sits up, dude, I remember the first time I saw it, I sat up. I was like, what the like I thought, dude, you're a kid. I didn't know if that was real.
Mm.
Like, I don't know. Adults do weird shit. Maybe they trained a shark for the movie, or later on, I started watching a lot of shark stuff, like actual, and then it's kind of like you can see the animatronic movements compared to like when they show the actual far shot of the shark, and it's a real shark, so it moves a lot more fluid. And I mean, but still, when you're a kid, dude, he pops out of that water. Oh God, that scared the hell out of me. It was so good.
What are some of your favorite scenes in the movie?
Well, that part is great.
Mhm.
And okay, I don't know why. Okay, so when the two dudes are fishing and they take his wife's roast, and they're just it's at night and they hook up the big hook and they throw it out, and then they pull they tie it to the dock and it pulls him out, and the guy Charlie's in the water and he's got to swim
Mhm.
back. Dude, that scared the shit out of me because first it pulls you out there, and then you're like, okay, it's way out there, and I'm just gonna start swimming back. And then the way he shot it was awesome, dude, because the stupid floating log, it just turns. Or the piece of the dock. So you know
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
shark
yeah.
turning. So it was brilliant because he didn't have to try to show the shark turn. And you didn't have to force it down. That little twist was like, oh shit. Like, don't look back, Charlie. Fuck. Like when he screams, swim, Charlie. I'm like, fuck it, Charlie, swim, swim. And it's the only thing was I did the math, and for the chain, dude, the shark was past him. You know what I mean? Whatever. You got to suspend reality for a little bit. But then, and it's funny too, because it kind of the piece just kind of rubs up against the shore right there. So that scene, because that's before the shark was even out, that scene was probably my favorite. because it's like two movies, dude. It's the before
Yeah.
the shark, and it's the after. And the only other film that I saw that was like that that I enjoyed, well, a lot of films are like that, but was like Full Metal Jacket. It was almost
Mm,
like a whole story
mm,
before and a whole
mhm.
story after. So the whole story before was awesome, and it's like the thing turning. It's like the crazy fins just rolling over in the water when the Kittner kid gets it. It's the little things that lets you know there's a shark without you having to see the shark. It's all the effects and the it's and it's funny because it's a book, right, by Benchley. I think it's
Yeah,
like Peter
Peter.
Benchley or something.
Yeah.
So it's the story was already great because it was a best-selling book.
Mm,
So the way they brought it to the film was awesome because it already told itself, but they were going to show it and they were going to like kind of convey all of that in a film like this. And like so that, and then even like the little part where um I think the kid's in the boat and he's just sitting there and then hits his birthday gift and Chief Brody's all like, I don't want him in the boat. And the mom's like, he's never gonna go, but whatever, like he's gonna be afraid. And then she looks at the book he's looking at, and it's got the
right.
picture of the shark with it.
Mm.
And she turns around and she screams, "Didn't you hear your father?" And I was like, "Oh, it's one of the." They live on an island, but they don't know anything about sharks. So there could be sharks all the way around it. But I think that's the way. That's what this movie did to everybody. It's like you've heard of a shark, you've seen a shark, but nobody's actually looked into the history of them, what they
Mm.
do, and that's what it's beautiful when they bring in Hooper, uh, played
Richard
by
Dreyfuss.
Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's people that live next to them that don't know anything, and it's about a guy whose whole life is the sharks. And even when they show Clint, it's kind of like two different aspects. One studies and loves them, and the other one studies them but hunts them. So it's kind of like the naivety of Chief Brody, and then the other two that are kind of experts but at different things about
Hmm.
sharks.
Hmm.
It was I had never read the book, which I should have, but I don't know if those same characters are in there. But the chemistry between the three of them, and even on film, not just their characters, but their acting was great together, dude. I enjoyed all of them. Like I loved oh man, I'm gonna mess up his name now. The guy who played Clint. Like I
Robert
had my
Shaw.
cyber Shaw. I had my
Yeah.
cybers like him in high school, man, because I love the guy so much. Like I love him, and dude, when he's telling the stories, and he's like that crazy asshole who doesn't listen to anybody
Hmm.
because he thinks he knows everything, and he kind of they kind of in the end he kind of shuts up, and it's like when he's like Hooper, what can you do with these things? Like once everything he
Right.
knows about
Right.
sharks is
Right.
over,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
got to give it up to the youth. It's like when we were talking about uh, Crimson Tide. It's
Hmm.
the youth giving to the young, and it's kind of like once you've exhausted everything you know, you gotta look for help. And he's so old and set in his ways, but I mean, dude, fuck. I'm sorry. So I love the whole movie, dude, from the beginning to the end. That's why it's like we were talking about tops, dude. I'm saying if I had five top five,
Hmm.
it's even though it's not one of my normal horror, it's number one. Like it's got to be my favorite movie of all time. It's weird. It's because when I talk about American Werewolf, that's my favorite horror movie.
Hmm.
This is my favorite sci-fi movie, but favorite overall is got to be Jaws. And I think it was from the first time I saw it. I think it was my favorite movie ever. Nothing's ever gonna beat it. That's what's weird.
Uh, uh, you mentioned something about like how it feels like two movies. I think that's true. I think you could also add the opening. The opening feels like a kind of a slasher film where a bunch of college age kids on the beach, and then they go out to make to fool around, and then they got the shark comes in. That feels kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever, or Jason or something like that. Uh, uh, but then afterwards, it becomes this like uh, race against time with Chief Brody, and him trying to convince that. Oh, I guess trying to convince himself too that there is something dangerous and that he needs to protect the town.
And the
And it
whole town's
becomes
against them, and that's what's
yeah,
the horrible part. And like they literally had to get slapped in the face by the goddamn shark before anybody was paying attention and was gonna do anything.
yeah. I
So
think
that
a
that's
lot of
frustrating.
when I was doing the rewatch, I was like, that part I really really enjoyed it more. I know, but I also like the third part, which is now becomes the hunt, right? It becomes this thrilling sea adventure, and
And they
it's
even
these three
changed the music. You
men
know what I
trying
mean?
to chase. Yeah, yeah. At one point, there's like a really John Williams does, of course, the iconic score, but yeah, at one point it feels like some kind of pirate movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like
um,
upbeat, and they're chasing the barrels, and it's like
yeah,
"Da-da-da-da," and it's
yeah.
like it's literally like you said, it's like a chase scene, and I mean, like if they were just sticking their tongues out, they would be having fun. You know what I mean? It went from like we got to save this town to like Old Man in the Sea, but like a newer version with like a more upbeat
Mhm.
and it was dude, I like yeah, too, and even when they're underneath and they're telling that story at night and it goes into the song. First, they're all drunk and they start with the
Oh yeah.
tattoos, and that scene's brilliant, dude. That scene lives in my head constantly.
Mhm.
Like I will just
Yeah.
sing the farewell and adieu, like just out of the blue, like when I'm just sitting there, man.
You mean when they're getting into just right about getting into the boat, right?
Well,
When
no,
he's
no,
talking.
this is when they're in the boat
Okay.
and they've already seen the shark
Oh,
and they
all
put the
right, all
barrel
right.
in it, yeah, and they're getting drunk and they finally kind of like it's
They're,
it's it's almost like the part of the movie where they kind of find common ground. Like they start, like they get chummy, basically.
yeah,
Like
they're
it
trading
starts
off
great.
scars, and they were telling their stories, their personal stories. There's a really funny scene where they're of course uh, Shaw or Quint is like telling all his stories, his bouts of first encounters with sharks, and then Hooper tells him, and then they cut to Brody, and he has no scars. He's looking at
No, I
his.
thought his appendix scar, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, he was looking at his appendix or something like that, and I thought and
yeah.
that was a funny bit, and
Oh
but
yeah.
that again, it tells you these dynamics of these three characters. One is an old grizzled, old school instinctual hunter, shark hunter. The other one is like we are saying, a shark expert. Upper middle class. They get they mention that he's a college educated from a comes
He's
from a rich
wealthy.
family. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Brody is like the middle class hero, cop, family man. I mean, he's and then also a New Yorker. He's not part of the island.
Yeah, I
He's an
think that
outsider
was
too.
and I think they did it on purpose because
Yeah.
it's kind of like, yeah, they wanted to give him even more of a distance. Like that's why
Mhm.
he had more of a problem convincing people, like because they're like, hey, we live here, we know what it is. Like
Yeah.
every time the mayor was like, you're gonna shut the beach down, like who under whose authority? He's like,
Mhm.
who do I need? I'm the you know what I mean? I'm the chief of police.
Mm.
Like I thought I was the law, and then the other guy, well, you need a city ordinance and blah blah blah, and it's just it's like he's got two battles. He's got the battle to even start the battle. Like he's got to fight those guys, and then dude, when okay, the part where they're under the boat and they're doing the scars, and it was the tattoo being removed, and then
Mm.
Quint goes into the story about the USS Indianapolis that dropped the bomb. I
Mhm.
love that part because that part gives the backstory to why he is the way he is, and he's
Mhm.
set in his ways, and he even says he's never going to wear a life vest again. And it's almost like when he talks about the sharks and he's hunting them, it's like a hatred kind of because when they go into his shop before they actually go out on the water, when like the chief's wife drops him off, there is a ton of the shark jaws everywhere. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's like this guy. I don't know if he's getting back for every friend that he's ever got lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Type of deal by
Yeah.
the sharks.
Yeah.
And it's just it's that's why he's such a bitter kind of prickish old guy. And
he's a
I
he's
don't
a
know.
shark racist. No, but yeah,
Is yeah,
you're right. You're right because it's all he's actually boiling a set of teeth.
the jaws, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally the jaws. But yeah, and it's funny too because they don't he doesn't take him out, but he's got that really weird old guy. Remember when they're in the meeting and he scratches the board
Yeah.
when he leaves? He's like Miss Chief, Mrs. Chief, and then he walks out. There's a really old man
Oh
who's
yeah,
got a little
yeah,
dog, But and they show that guy one more time in the dock, but they never show that guy again. So
Yeah.
it's not like the guy doesn't have like he's a solo guy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He has, I guess, that little guy's his friend. But it's just kind of like in dude. I don't know if you paid attention, but when the wife's dropping him off, he's giving like really rude one liner comments to Brody. Like he's like, "Come on, Brody, you got to leave now." He's like, "I hope you packed your rubbers." And then he's like, you know what I mean? It's like
Uh,
being after being of like
mhm.
just kind of like racy undertone jokes is hilarious, man. But it's like this his it's the only time he's happy is when he's kind of making people uncomfortable or you know what I mean? I don't know. He's a weird guy. He's a very complicated guy. Like except for the part that he's drunk, like when they're drinking, I
Mhm.
would think he was drinking all the time. The way he kind of mood swings back and forth.
Yeah, I think that's what's so great about the third act or the second to third act, where it's about the hunt, and you get the dynamics of these three characters, and those dynamics really work well. And I was thinking about this, like if you get those same characters and that same, you know, dynamic, but yet you put that in a different context or you put that in a different background, like say we put that in a you know, in a cocktail dinner or birthday party, and they would hate each other. I mean, it would have been it would have been like a most one of the most boring birthday parties you ever been. But you put that those three people again in a boat context hunting
And
the
they
shark,
can't get away
and
from each
it's the
other.
best. Yeah, and it's the best time, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it only works in that scenario, and
Yeah, they no, I was gonna say
mm,
it's kind of like they finally gave up fighting each other
right, right,
and hating what each other is and just kind of gave into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
But I
think.
even
Go ahead.
no, no, I was gonna say I even see that after the shark wrecks the boat and they're fixing the boat, but it's still the same
Mm,
thing where Brody is kind of the fish out of water, and then
yeah.
on each side of the holes you have Hooper in one, like working on one part of the engine, Clint in the other side, and they're just reaching up and grabbing tools. It's like that's their element, and Brody's totally out. But it's kind of like you know how like say that you have a friend or you're going somewhere and there's three of you, and then everybody kind of is like maybe new or not really into each other, and then two of them like kind of buddy up. And I always felt bad for yeah for Brody because it was
Brody.
kind of like he was the odd man out. You know what I mean? Roy Scheider was the
Yeah,
one that
well, yeah.
yeah he didn't have anything in common with these guys.
Yeah, and also he's afraid of the water, and he's a New Yorker, and he comes in, and he's not, he, you know, like I remember the scene where he's like, they're trying to take a photo. Hooper wants to take a photo. He goes, go in the bow.
Oh,
He goes, he's like, why, why?
I need scale. Yeah, I need something
Yeah,
to put scale in it.
it was funny because like he doesn't want, you know, like he's petrified of the water. He doesn't want to be there, and I think he is probably most of the you know, among those three, he's probably the one who represents the audience the most
The most.
because he is the most common, you know, person there. I mean, it's like, of course, why would you do this? Why would you even go on the boat with these people?
It,
Mhm.
even earlier, his wife said he hates the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And like where they're at that dinner or whatever, and she was laughing. He's like, I don't hate the water. And he goes, you never go swimming, you never do anything. But then the best part is when at the end when they're going back and he's talking about uh um what do you call it? Hooper's telling him, you
Mhm.
know, it's an island. And he's like, it's only an island if you look at it from the water. So that's his thing. You know what I mean? When you're on the land, it's not I'm not on an island. It's just land, and that's the ocean. So I think that tells you his perspective. Is he even had to convince himself that he's not stuck on an island? But I mean, they got to take the ferry everywhere. So it's yeah, he is 100% like stuck on surrounded by something he is not very comfortable with.
Yeah, and I think what I really appreciate this time around watching it, I love kind of the generational gap between, you know, the three guys. You got the youth with Hopper, you got the middle aged dude with Brody, and then you got the old guy with Quint. And it's really, and I guess, you know, because it's, you know, you got to remember it came out the same year we ended the Vietnam War, and I think uh, a great part of that, you know, during that time was this kind of generational divide between those two generations, the older World War II generation and this counterculture generation. And I think that movie really plays, I mean, if you look it back now, it really plays into that, like, and you were talking about like the hubris of these characters, of Quint, and him breaking the radio, which really
Yeah,
screws him over because he can get rescued. And then
he's
you also look
certifiable.
at the mayor. Yeah. And you look at the mayor, and he's an older character as well. And the ego on him, like he thought there, we could just continue with the festivities and it would be okay. It's like, so I think the movie's trying to say like the older generation, at least during that time, during the Vietnam War, was this kind of it's kind of like now, it's like kind of like okay boomer type of mentality. Back then it was the same thing. People were kind of disillusioned with the older generation. And I think what the movie is saying is like, if we could just all shut up and put our heads together, we could conquer the beast. And that's what happened.
Well, and it was so funny because you're right. The mayor's doing math in his head.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if we could do this, then we can get 3 more weeks, and we could blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I never drew the parallel to like that time in America, like the Vietnam, because I'm thinking that could be like Clint being the hardened, like old school, mentality warrior, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Dreyfus's character being like the hippies, like the
Yes,
let's
definitely. Yeah.
let's 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 end the war with love instead of bullets, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why he's attacking the shark with science,
Hmm.
and Clinton is attacking it with brutal force, and like the whole thing with the tracker. And dude, I love the part where he sinks the first barrel in him. And
Yes.
then like he's like, Hooper, rig up another barrel. And then
Don't
right
wait
before
for
he
me.
takes the shot, yeah, he looks and it's just hanging there, man. He's like, son of a bitch. But then there's a great part too where they're on the whole part on the ship is brilliant. And the part where he's practicing the knots over and over again. But then when he
Yes.
actually went to do it and he pulled it and it fell, and then even Hooper gets pissed off at him. And it's the one time where Clint is nice to him, right? He's like, Chief, you let me know, I'll tell you which line to pull. You know what I mean? It's like he was quiet. He didn't let Hooper know that he had told him. It was like
Yeah.
that's like the friendliest gesture he has in the entire flick. But it's kind of like I don't know if even at that point that like Quint's character actually felt sorry for him too, like how out of place he was. Like it's a boat. There's nothing familiar to him at all.
Mhm.
Like he might as well have been on the moon. He didn't know the starboard. He didn't know what to call anything. And it's just like when he's chumming, he's like, "Why don't you come down here and chum some of this shit?" And then even Quint, like, Hoover drives the boat, Chief. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he does. He drives the boat, and it's weird because Quint gives that up because you figure the captain
Mhm.
drives and blah blah blah, but he is basically, I guess, I don't know if Hooper passed the test with him, like like
Yeah,
to give him the authority to drive his boat around.
I think I think eventually they get there. I think eventually they're kind of a bond once they get to the point.
So he might not
And
like what he does, but there's been the respect there.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
Hooper, even though Hooper is a college educated elitist, he does know his shit.
Yeah.
He's not a dummy. He is an expert. He knows his stuff.
And
And
he's a hands-on guy. He's not just like a guy that knows
yeah,
it all from books.
yeah, it's not like he just only learned from books. He has done his time and he has researched and he has like you said, he showed his scars. He has hit, he has done his time. Um Actually, I would say like Brody might be the one who is probably the most kind of out of his element.
Oh, for sure.
Um and so and I think that's what makes the movie so special, that whole kind of uh camaraderie in that final act and stuff.
Yeah, and
But yeah,
it was
I was saying I just loved kind of the build up to it,
oh yeah.
and the whole element of like the kid or I mean, like when the kid gets murdered or gets eaten in the ocean, and you have that famous kind of zoom in
Yeah,
shot
that's a
with
sick shot.
Brody. That's gruesome because it was like
Yeah.
full of buckets of blood coming out of the water.
Well,
And
when I watched it again, and that scale is fucking scary.
Mhm,
Because when you watch it again, and it's funny because I remember watching it when I was younger, it was a lot quicker and not as clean. I think I've seen like, or they've just basically film stock's gotten better, and it's a
mm,
lot cleaner picture. And when the fins roll over, that's fucking huge, dude. It's like close to megalodon size. Like it is, and there's a lot more sound. Like it's not just the visual, it's the sound of the gurgle because it's a
mhm,
good 5 6 seconds of like as he's
mhm,
gurgling as he's being killed and underwater. You know what I mean? And it, dude, it's a lot. Like I swear, when I was young, I saw it and it scared me, but it was fast. And I
mhm,
think now, I don't know how they've extended it, but it's a lot more gruesome. And I think they even have like now when you see it, there's a couple like where he looks like he's kicking. He's being dragged down and he's still kicking. And I mean that scene's great. And the way it's that zoom in shot's famous, but when everybody's up on the beach and that lady's like standing there and she's walking back and forth and like she's looking around for her kid and it's just the
mhm,
raft that comes floating
mhm,
up like
mhm,
oh shit, and you knew we were screwed when Pippin disappeared
mhm.
because the guy was throwing the stick for his dog, man. We're like, no, he didn't swim to China, man. That thing, he got eaten. He's like a fucking like aperitivo.
Yeah, and you bring up the mother. I think even though I didn't see it, I haven't like I haven't really revisited the movie for a long time. I mean, the one moment of the movie that I kind of remember for the longest time is the moment where he gets slapped. Brody gets slapped. It's the biggest kind of emotional gut punch in the whole movie. And and that happens really early on. I mean, the stakes of it is pretty much planted at that moment. You know that this means something.
Well, and it's the
And
catalyst too, because she puts
yeah,
that ad, and now
yeah.
there's so many people there, and these guys are destroying the town. So I think that helps the mayor. Like, we gotta fucking do something.
Mhm.
Like, there's tourists here, but the wrong kind. They're throwing dynamite in the water, and
Yeah.
it's total melee. But no, and she slaps, and she's like, like I heard you knew a girl was killed here, so she even called them out, and everybody's quiet, and then everybody afterwards is like, like that was uncalled for. You know what I mean? They try to make him feel better, but you can see on his face he was like, "No, I knew better. I should
Yeah.
have fucking made
Yeah.
you guys do something." And then that's when we get Hooper when he comes in. And dude, his entrance, I love it because he's coming in, he gets off the boat, and there's like this weird guy that's like, "Hello there, young man," like helps him up on the boat. You know what I mean? It's like you get that small town feeling, but
Mhm.
these are a bunch of like people that have come in from up and down the coast, and they're there to hunt that shark for the money. And but a lot of them are assholes. Like the guy's like when he tells them like to get the people out of the boat, and then Hooper tells him, hey, the officer wants me to let you know you're overloading that boat. And they're like, yeah, what mind your own business or whatever. And then he says, well, do you guys know where there's a good place to eat? He goes, yeah, just go walk forward. So they want to walk off the end of the pier, into the water. Oh man, dude, it's so good. And when they're
The, ca-
chumming and everybody's explaining stuff on the go, it's so good.
the casting of the film is pretty excellent, and it's like they don't do it like that no more. I mean, if this was remade now, they would get like pretty boys and like good looking people in these parts, and
What
it's
did
just like
Dreyfus do before this though? Just
this is
American
one of his
Graffiti,
first ones.
or
I think he did American Graffiti before this, but he did some TV stuff.
hmm,
But really, this was the breakout part, and then I think not too long after this movie, he wins an Oscar for a part, and and then he becomes well, he reteams with Spielberg with Close
Close Encounters?
Encounters, and which was another huge milestone. So yeah, but he's not like your typical Hollywood leading man. He's a short guy. He has a funny beard. Like he is not like
A little
you wouldn't.
dorky.
He's dorky. It reminds me of a story that Steve McQueen once said about Dustin Hoffman. This is like Papillon.
Oh
So
yeah,
they,
yeah,
they
Papillion,
so,
yeah.
yeah, they both starred in Papillon. Steve McQueen is like old school Hollywood leading man. So this,
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
the action star, dude, for sure.
yeah, he was one of the biggest stars in the world at that point. And Dustin Hoffman. So I think this was late '60s. So this was like maybe a couple years before Jaws. And Dustin Hoffman just coming off of The Graduate, which made him a huge star, and they hated each other during the making of that movie. They just hated each other. And Steve
McQueen.
McQueen said, "I can't believe that this guy is the biggest star in the world right now. I can't believe why, because he doesn't have, to him it wasn't about the looks, he
Yeah.
didn't, he was this dork, and I think because of the rise of Dustin Hoffman and other people of that time, Richard Dreyfuss came up. Richard Dreyfuss, and I think there was a more of a hunger for like having real actors to look real, like more real.
I
And
guess
I
I know
think
what
that,
you're saying because before then there was like a template. It
yeah,
wasn't just the acting; you had to look like like a certain way, and then if you can act, that's a plus. But it wasn't mandatory. You know what I mean? Like I mean, I don't want to be mean to Kirk Douglas, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? It's kind of like he fit the mold,
yeah,
Spartacus, all that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that got him in the door was
yeah.
just pure
I
looks.
Yeah, it's funny because like this movie came out in 1976, but if this movie was made in 1966 or even 56, Quint would be like the main star
Yeah, for
because
sure.
he fit the mold. He fit like the John Wayne mold. And this movie's like, no, maybe that character is not really the hero. Maybe it's
Yeah,
the average looking guy or Brody.
Charles Charles
Yeah,
Bronson would have been Hooper, man.
yeah. It's like, so I that's enough. That's why I think that's why it makes the movie so modern, and I think that's why it has lived on so long because it feels like it's like taking some of that stuff from some of the old Hollywood stuff and reinventing it to make it a little more modern and look a little more real. And yeah, I think Quint would have been like definitely like the if it was if it was a John Ford movie, Quint was the hero, would be the
Yeah.
hero. And in this movie,
He,
it's not like he's not the hero in this movie, but he is like kind of like I was saying, his ego got to him, and he burns himself
yeah.
because of it. He steps in it.
Dude, and I watched that scene over again the other day,
It's a
and
gruesome death scene.
but it's so shitty because he's at the doorway and he's trying to hold on and Brody's trying to hold, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like it's not like he just was on the deck and fell. He was like he had a little chance and he was holding on and he just
Yeah.
lost his grip and then he's kicking. He doesn't go straight in the shark's mouth, man. He's like a sock'em robot dude trying to get his feet and then all of a sudden when basically he gets caught they cut to that close up, like the 3/4 shot, and he just spits the blood out of his mouth.
Yeah, awesome.
And you don't, yeah, you see, the shark chomps down, and it goes in that close up, and the best part is when
And
he like
the
it's
rolls
yeah
over.
but like he's got his hat on the whole fucking movie, and his hat just comes off. I don't know if it's a
Oh,
bald thing and he didn't want to show it, but it comes off, and then yeah, he just slides off, dude, and it's just
yeah.
it's
That's
almost like weird because it was a violent death, but a peaceful send off. It was weird,
yeah.
man. But yeah, like
It's like
I noticed that
it's
about
like the
his head
shark.
because
Like it was like Final Destination. The fucking shark finally got him.
all those years ago he tried to get him and freaking when
Yeah,
he dropped the bomb.
yeah.
Maybe the shark came from Japanese waters and he was
Maybe. Yeah, they live
some
long, I think.
payback. Dude, okay. So I remember the first time I watched this, and this shouldn't be a spoiler because everybody's seen it.
Yeah,
When at the end, smile, you son of a bitch, blah blah blah, and
right.
he's sitting there, and you know who pops back up. Everybody's like, you know what it was? It was like that final. Everybody got to be like, "Fuck yeah!" Like finally, like it sucks that Quint's gone, but the thing was when he popped up, he's just laying there on the mast, and all of a sudden there's the sound of the water sloshing,
Mhm.
and like my thing was, I would have shit myself. Like there's another shark, it's a different shark, whatever. The last, but he was very nonchalant, just kind of look over, and he just like a half laugh, like oh fuck, thank God it's you or whatever. But there
Mhm.
was no fear, trepidation, anything. And then the subtlest part was when he's like Quint, and he's just like gives a
Yeah.
little head
Mm,
shake, and it's like almost like it like they only knew each other for a little bit, but it's like they lost like an old school bro. You know what I mean?
yeah. No.
Like there was like the loss, and then when it's so funny because at the very end, how you're talking about how Brody is the least knowledgeable,
Hmm.
and they're swimming. It's like, oh, we started a whole new week or whatever. And he goes, what's today? Tuesday, whatever. He goes, maybe the tide's with us. And the driver's like, he laughs. He goes, just keep kicking, man. Like that's how much he doesn't know. You know what I mean? And it's almost like an upbeat ending.
Yeah, it's like a old school western, like they're
Yeah.
riding to the sunset. Yeah.
But if you watch it all the way through the credits, they show them get all the way to the shore. But most people stop. Like
Oh,
the credits roll up,
yeah.
yeah, they show them get all the way there. It's like a long ass ending, but yeah, they get all the way there. But that's my thing too, is I would be swimming as fast as I fucking could. But they acted like there was just one shark in the ocean. You know, I don't know. Like, what are the chances too? But I mean, until you see part two. But it's just it's almost okay. Remember how we talk about the fast forward movies? There's
Hmm.
movies that you enjoy and they're great, but they got fast forward parts that
Right.
you don't need to see every time you see it. This one doesn't. This is one of my no fast forward movies, and it might be a perfect movie. Maybe that's why it's so high on my list. It's got everything I'd want in a movie, and it's weird that so many people have it on their list
Mm.
because I wouldn't think because there's no romance. There's no, you know what I mean. There's a lot of things people, if they made a list of
Oh,
everything they want
I
in a
see what you
perfect
mean.
movie,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't hit all the boxes, but it's on a lot of people's lists, and it deserves to be on the list. It's just great all the way around. I mean, it's still visually, it's an amazing. I think it's still amazing visually.
Yeah.
It, I don't know what it is. I mean, I know they can CGI stuff and
Mm.
they could make something that look better, but why? It looks perfect the way it is. And I mean, even the little shots where Hooper's in the water and he pulls the tooth out of the side, and the head floats down into the hole. That's like
Mm.
perfect because there's the hole that's out there, and it's just enough for Ben Gardner's head to pop into, and it was perfect. It was just and it's the setup is good because um, he basically screams underwater, drops a tooth. So then when they're trying to explain to the mayor the size of the shark, and he's like, this tooth, and he's like, do you have the tooth? And he's like, no, I dropped it. It's like the mayor's looking for the stupidest shit to call it off, and then he points at the vandalism on the board, and I love how Hooper's like, take a good look. That's to scale. That shark, the fin, it's like that tells you how big this actual shark is. And when he's talking about the doing the autopsy, and the mayor's like, I'm not going to let you cut that shark open and watch that little boy like pour out onto the dock. I don't know, man. There's no bad parts of that movie, dude.
Yeah,
There
and I
is
think
not.
when I was rewatching it, I'm like, I was shocked at how much really flows fast. You know, there's a tempo to it, and that's not true to a lot of '70s movies. If you go back to a lot of '70s movies, they're really slow. A lot of them. I mean, not maybe not all of them, but like there's some of the classic ones that are like you forget like how slow the editing pacing is. But this is like almost like very modern with its editing techniques and also the way like Spielberg shot things. People move in and out of the camera. Crowds of people are moving from one side to the left. He's moving the camera, and so yeah, that's what I took away from watching this time. Like, oh wow, this is like I now get why it's has stayed in people's minds and why like we're saying it's no fast forward moments in this because it's moving so quickly and it's getting to from the from point from the plot one and act two and act three and stuff. So
And it's over
and
two
I,
hours.
yeah, and then once you get to the boat, once you get to that, you know, hunting, they're hunting the shark. It's like, you know, it's you know, that's you're deadlocked into the movie.
Yeah, see, and I like what you mentioned about he did a lot of things that a lot of people don't do now. Like what he did was to show the tourists coming. It was just basic film stock of people coming off and on the barge. You know what I mean? Little
Mhm.
shit like that, like just the people, the cars. It was cool because it didn't have to be. It almost felt like a '70s commercial. You know what I mean? Or like the stuff we had to watch when we were real little in school, and they were talking about like the dangers of going to the beach or whatever. And they just showed a bunch of stock photos of different people doing different shit at the beach. So I like the fact that he did that, and it drove the point that showed the seasons changing. Now these are the tourists. This is the business, and it wasn't like two people. It was like a huge ferry full of people. Like this is like even the lady said this is like they make all their money in the next couple weeks. That's how
Mhm.
the city stays alive. Like she's got a hotel. She cannot like one day closed is like a third of her her business. You can't do this stuff. It's a summer town, like they said. That's I don't know. It's crazy, but it's smart though too. Because I mean, if that was stock footage, he didn't have to go out and film that. He just got buy the rights, and it flows very well. I think he did a lot at a young age
Mhm.
that I don't think a lot of seasoned guys would have done. And like you said, the story flows perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like A to B to C, and then even the parts that are weird, like when Brody's drunk, it's awesome. Like he's drinking, like like you're gonna cut it open. Yeah, why not? I'm the mayor, But he's
Mhm.
drunk off his ass. And then I know you talked about the part with the slap, but one of the most famous parts is when his son is mimicking him at the table,
Oh, yeah, the
and
shark.
that is a beautiful
Mhm.
scene. And it's weird because it's a beautiful scene. It's the between the father and the son, but it's in Jaws. It's fucking
Mhm.
weird that it's in Jaws, but it's gorgeous, and it goes to show you that even though I think it's what it was even though no one's saying it, Brody's actions are appreciated. You know what I mean? Somebody's watching him. Somebody needs for him to do these things. Like he's got a family. There are people that need him to go on that boat. There are people that need this done. And it's not just the ones that are close to him, but it's kind of like he forgets sometimes that people are watching him. People do
Mhm.
need him, and I think, and it's funny because it's not just that that happens. The mom sees it. She's off scene. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it wasn't just shot. She is shot seeing that happen. So it's like a beautiful thing. The shitty thing is they they do a callback in goddamn Jaws 4, which is a horrible fucking movie. But they cut it where dude, and it's so
Mhm.
funny. You know who's in Jaws 4 is the guy from Last Starfighter. He's
Oh.
the main guy. So they show a scene with him, and he's at the table, and his daughter. He's got a little girl, same age, like same like age difference between Brody and Mike. And so they cut to that, and she's in the movie, so she's watching that, and then they actually clip to the scene from Jaws. So I'm like that was the best part of
Mhm.
Jaws 4 was the clip from Jaws 1, dude. And it's so funny because
It's
Jaws 4 had Michael Caine. You know what I mean? So it
uh
wasn't like they
oh,
didn't have anything in it. Mario Van
who's the
Peebles.
who? Oh no, who was in three?
Oh, three
Uh,
was I took close apart. Uh,
is
uh,
Louis Gossett.
Gossett Jr. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Quaid,
Quaid, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis
Okay.
Quaid. Yeah, and it also had the mom from Back to the Future, Leah Thompson.
Oh, was she in that one? In third
Yeah,
one?
yeah, she's in the third one. Third one doesn't
Yeah,
have a bad cast.
it's funny. It's funny. Like as much as um, Jaws was this groundbreaking phenomenon film that became this cultural milestone that everyone talks about. Permeated into the culture. There was you know there was jokes. People made fun of it. There was spoofs, and then also the sequels are kind of also in a way groundbreaking too because it followed this. I think people took because they were so bad, and I mean, I guess some of it. I guess number
Dude,
two
I
is
love two. Everybody shits on two. I loved two. Two was great. It was
so.
cheesy.
But yeah, but two followed a lot of the same tropes of a sequel, right? It's like kind
Yeah,
of extension, and so in a way, the sequels are also groundbreaking in a way that they spawn how people made these sequels before. Lot shittier, kind of returning to the same tropes, but in a bad way, I guess. Uh, it's just a kind of crazy franchise.
but three is they had an idea for a movie and needed
Was it
needed the vessel for it, and it was to make a 3D shitty. Everybody
right?
was making
Right.
3D. Piranha 3D. The 3Ds were coming out, so they
Was
was like,
it
"Fuck it, let's do Jaws 3 and make it
was it
3D." Dude.
gen, genetically engineered sharks?
No,
No, they're
no, it was
just
just a
okay.
shark,
Okay.
and somehow and it's funny because it screws up the whole storyline for part four, because all of a sudden it's the brother and the brothers show up there. That's Dennis Quaid is the brother Mike. He's
Mhm.
the like all of a sudden he works at
Uh,
SeaWorld and he's the master mechanic or he's the heads guy. And the Jaws just randomly happens to show. But it's just to be 3D and it's the whole it brought the almost like a theme park aspect of it in there.
yeah.
And it got people because and you got to remember the Jaws ones. It was just the ones that were in imminent danger of dying because they're in the ocean. But now you got these people. They're in an underground like restaurant, and it comes through the bubble wall. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden they're face to face with the shark, and then there starts to flood in the hallways that they're walking through in the underground lagoon. Like it was a way to bring that shit closer.
Yeah, it's
But the
as much
story
as
was horrible.
I guess my point was that is that as much as the first one was this groundbreaking thing, the sequels, in a way, in a bad way, also broke ground because of how everyone kind of used that kind of mold or structure to do sequels for these movies. And I think it killed the sequel, certainly in the 80s. Because when we were growing up, 80s in the 90s, sequels were pretty much known to be jokes. They
Yeah,
were not people were not interested in sequels. Rocky did this, although Rocky had some really great installments, but like
more
Rambo,
respected for sure.
yeah. But the joke was that they were kind of like, Rocky 6,000. What was that?
Oh, Rocky
Spaceballs.
5,000.
Yeah, it was like it was the joke that kept on going, and like people were just going to regurgitate, and now it came true. Like a lot of like everyone's doing sequels, everyone's doing installments.
But
It's
when we were kids, the first one was for our parents, and all the sequels were for us because
yeah.
they were so shittily awesome, dude. They were like the other movies we wanted, like the Barbarians. They were those kind of movies, but the first one was great, and the second ones were horrible. And it was so funny because I remember, with the exception of like you said, Rocky. Maybe it's a Stallone thing because Rocky and Rambo's the
Mhm,
sequels were actually very until recent with like the five and the six. Like no, I remember number three, like everybody being hyped to go see it. Like the one where the whole goat scene in the beginning where they're playing that game on the horses. Like that was like a legit movie. Like that was a sequel, but it was like people wanted to watch it. But
mhm.
like I know what you're saying. Like when they started getting into like Major League 3 and Major League 4, it's like holy shit, someone's got to stop this. Yeah, but and I guess the Jaws franchise was just if you put if you were gonna put out a shitty movie about a shark, you needed something, some kind of name recognition. So it's like they found ways to tie it in to Jaws movies, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for talking about. Unless you want to add something more about Jaws, did we? I mean, I guess we have to just take a really quick moment about the score because I mean it's iconic. John
Oh yeah.
Williams. It's one of the kind of easily recognizable scores ever made, and it's really kind of a huge impact in the movie.
It's
I would
pop
say,
culture everywhere too, man.
yeah. And then you were saying like in you were swimming in the pool, and we're from Southern California. Pool, that's that was pool life. That's pool lifestyle. Everyone goes to the pool, and back then, if you jump in the pool in a community pool, some asshole kid from the neighborhood will do that theme song and scare the
Yeah.
shit out of you. It was a
Well, if
taunt.
you could play it right now, and even I think kids that haven't seen the movie, like a
Mm,
younger generation, maybe probably your little brother might not have seen it growing up the same way we did. And I
yeah.
think my kids would know the song it's from. Like, yeah, I know it's from Jaws. They might have not seen it, but it's kind of like that theme has actually become bigger as far as being synonymous with the movie than anything else. I think it's even like it jumps like countries, dude. I bet you could play that in Japan and they know exactly what it is. And
Yeah, like I was saying, I came late to Jaws, and I probably saw it my first. Well, I guess I well, let me say this. I probably know the pop culture references before I eventually saw the movie.
The movie.
And the theme song was very popular. I probably knew that right away. But also like the ride, the Universal ride. I mean,
Oh
that was
shit,
so iconic.
that
And I don't
scared
know
the
if
shit out of me.
and I think I might have went through went through the ride first before I saw the movie,
Really?
or at least saw the movie in its entirety. But yeah, I mean, it would be like we're saying, this movie was such a kind of
Wasn't
phenomenon.
wasn't the ride on an episode of like Different Strokes or something? Where they came out to California. It was it's been on
Had to be.
other shows, yeah,
Yeah.
where they've gone out and they're like walking the back lot and all of a sudden they turn around and they're on the Jaws set and they get scared. I know it's been in a couple shows, but dude,
It
that
was
ride scared the shit out of me and I knew it was coming up and I would try to sit the far side. And
mhm.
I remember one time I'd always be like, okay, you guys sit all the way to the left because I didn't want to be on the water side. And I don't know if I got it wrong, but I was on the water side, and I knew it like because like you're in the ride and it drops down, and the side that's on the water side drops lower, and that was my side. I was like, oh shit, and I remember not looking. I just like looked away because dude, it's so fake. But and then remember because they had the little guy in the boat and he was like fishing, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it falls
Yeah.
down and there's like smoke and water comes up, and it's coming. It's like so bad because it's coming, and then you're like a kid and oh man, that shit was great. It was like that and the Psycho House were like the two big
Yeah.
things that I always knew
Yeah.
were coming. Yeah,
Those were kind of like, is that still in the ride? It has
I
to be right
don't,
now. Right?
I don't
Is it
know, man. I
gone?
know they do like Waterworld and shit, or
Uh,
I don't know what they've taken out. I just know that they've added a bunch of stuff to that tour, and I
mhm.
think they still call it the Backlot Tour or whatever. But it's just, yeah. I mean, dude, it's never gonna be the same. You know what? Maybe it was Silver Spoons or something. It was definitely one of those shows that it was on, dude.
Had to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
so
I think
funny.
they jumped off the tram and they were walking around, and that's how they came on it.
It's funny because like growing up and watching those TV shows, you forget how much that stuff ingrained into your memory banks. Like I just stepped on a splinter the other day. I'm like, oh man, my foot, my big toe. I'm like, oh man, should I just try to look for it? And I go, no, my body will push it out. And I
Yeah,
go, wait, where did I get that from? And it
yeah,
was
I
from
saw
this
that
GI.
too.
It was like it was this Inspector Gadget. It was an Inspector Gadget PSA. Remember at the end of the Inspector Gadget, they would do these
Oh, the girl
like
would,
yeah.
the blonde girl would, yeah.
And I go, why did I still fucking remember that?
It's like the end of GI Joe too, man.
GI Joe used to have those too. They used to have those
Dude,
PSA stuff.
I remember Punky Brewster when they were playing hide and go seek, and Cherry
And
hid in the
the
fridge.
refrigerator, yeah. And
Yeah,
everyone,
and then it was
yeah,
like
that's how I know that
PSA.
the refrigerator is not safe. Yeah.
Yeah, don't hide in them. But dude, it's so funny because you mentioned the splinter, and I saw that the other day on something, and it was like I think they said within 17 hours your body can expel most things that are in it because it's foreign and your whole body
Yeah.
works to get it back out. But I remember, dude, we get a splinter, I would destroy all the skin around it. I would fuck it up so much worse than just letting the splinter. You know what I mean? I would cut my way
Yeah.
to it because I didn't have the right equipment and it like dude we used to get them in our palms a lot like from just like shitty like wooden slides and stuff
Yeah.
and I remember looking at it and I'm like oh shit I gotta go get like the razor and I gotta go get and then when I was done with everything I just pour alcohol in it and I
Oh
knew
shit.
once it hurt that it was gonna be fine dude and like the other day I got a
It's
hangnail it almost took me out.
it was like well, it's like in the movie Jaws when the kid comes out and with the gash in his hand, and he goes, "I was in the swings." I go, "Oh shit, that's that." I go, "That's yeah, that's that would happen back then.
Yeah.
You go on these rusted swings and
And
you
nobody
fucking
sued anybody or fucking made a big deal you just got fucked up.
yeah, he just got fucked up. He's got a scar for life."
Yeah. That speaking of which, that movie scarred me for life. I really okay. We went to Camperland by the Bay. It's in San Diego, and we were camping. And I remember we were
Oh
young, and they have a floating dock out there. And I remember there was a lot of people out there, and my stepsister wanted to go Jessica, And I was like, I don't know, man. That's just dark. The water's dark. And I was like, but there's so many people. I'm like, okay, it's got to be safe. And I don't know, it's like 12. And I'm like, okay. So I swam out there and she swam out there, but we didn't go together. So we're at the dock. And then, like, my mom's like, hey, we got to go. So we had to swim back. And I remember we started swimming. And then she was like, I can't swim anymore. And we had just started swimming back.
Oh shit.
And so then she's like you're gonna have to help me, and I'm like, hold on to my shoulders or whatever. But she didn't just like hold, she like climbed onto my back. And I remember because as soon as she did, I went vertical almost, right? And I'm like, holy shit. And I just remember how my legs went down. And I'm like, it made me think like 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 when you're floating, when you're swimming like parallel, I guess, to the earth, you can tell yourself if I could stand. You know, it's not that deep. So when she brought me down and my feet went down, like I went a little under and I was like, fuck, how deep is this? You know, what's down there? And I panicked, dude. I fucking panicked. And now I'm panicking and I want to swim to the shore and now she's on my back. So I'm like, I'm trying to calm myself down and I'm still trying to fucking swim as fast as I can. And I'm like, now it's like I can't even like, you know, overhand stroke. I have to like breaststroke because she's pulling me back. And I just remember, and I'm like, why aren't any of these fucking adults helping me right now? like there's something under me that's gonna kill me. This broad's gonna drown me herself. I can't feel the ground. I'm panicking. You know what I mean? And I just remember, it felt like it took a year to swim back to the shore. And I remember when I got there, she like was still holding on to me, and I was like it to the point where I could walk. And I like took 2 steps, and it looked like it looked like Tombstone because I just like flung her off of me, dude. Like get the fuck off of me, like. And I remember going and I dried myself out, and I was like, it took me like 20 minutes to calm down. I'd never. That's the scaredest I've ever been in my life. Like anytime, like we could be walking back somewhere, and also the lights go out, and I can't see anything, and I've watched a scary movie. Like that's a little scared. This I've never panicked before. I guess this was my first time panicking.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, I'm gonna drown, and there's all these people, and they're just watching me drown. You know what I mean? It's like, why isn't anybody helping me, dude? Oh, and so that part helped with me never wanting to swim in the ocean. I just can't do it. Like if a plane went down, I hope I explode. I want to die. I want to die in the air. I don't want to hit the water. I don't want to be in a raft. None of that shit. Rafts even worse, dude. Because now there's just like rubber between me and fucking Jaws. I don't like. I fucking kill myself right away.
Well, with
And I
that,
think werewolves are real, man. What the fuck?
so with that, we'll say goodbye to this episode. We'll conclude with that. Thank you for listening to Terrortinos, and thank you for watching us on YouTube. We're now available on YouTube, so please, like and subscribe. This episode is also going to be on our podcast, so you can look for us in podcast form. It'll be available everywhere. Thank
Sorry,
you
we're not
again.
better looking.
I know. Maybe it's just keep with the podcast, and that'd be probably a better choice for a lot of people. Again, if you like the podcast, if you like us, please tell a friend and subscribe, leave comments. We need all that stuff. That will help us grow, and we just have fun. We have fun talking about this stuff, and we have fun reminiscing. Go out there and watch some movies, y'all, and watch Jaws. Hey, summertime is the best time for that stuff. So go ahead and do that. So thank you again, and bye bye, everyone.
Later, guys.